Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's episode is going to be a little different from the usual content that I share. It's essentially going to be an unboxing and an initial first impression of everything that I ordered from Ballerina Farms. I've been very interested in making all sourdough products recently, but I have not fully taken the plunge and invested in everything I needed to do so. I am well aware that you can purchase all of these items individually, but when I was doing some of my research and came across the Ballerina Farms sourdough kit, it was an immediate add to cart for me. This just makes my life easier, and I'm, like I said, very well aware that all of this stuff could be purchased individually, but I love that all of this came together. For somebody like myself who has no background in baking sourdough bread or doing anything along those lines, this is a great starting point. I've been following Ballerina Farms on Instagram for quite some time, and I love everything that Hannah does. I feel like everything she touches is made with such love and intentionality, and I knew that all of the products in this box would be the same way. The first thing I noticed when I opened it up was how well everything was packaged. I did order some glass content, so I was a little nervous about the delivery and hoping that they were still intact. I was impressed whenever I opened the box. The way it was packaged, it would be very hard for any of the stuff that I purchased to be broken during transit. So it's kind of comforting to know that if you're going to spend the money and you're going to invest in something like this, that it is going to arrive to you safely. The only thing that did not come in the kit that I would recommend you buy is a scale. I feel like probably every kitchen needs a scale. I don't know how I've made it this long without having one, mostly because I cook from the heart and not necessarily in measurements. But I did procure a scale just for this. I ordered this from Amazon, and I will link it in the show notes. It was very inexpensive, but you do need a scale whenever you're going to start measuring out how much you're supposed to pour into your sourdough starter. So let's go ahead and get into it, and I'll show you everything that I ordered and the add-ons that I put in the package. First and foremost, on the top, you're going to notice the sourdough bread recipe book. I really appreciate this. It kind of goes into the history of sourdough bread, which I didn't realize that sourdough starters can live indefinitely, and it's something that could be passed down from generation to generation. This is something that I could start now, and if my kids were interested in the future, I could give them some of the starter that I make today. That's a little mind-blowing to me, but I really did think that that was intriguing. I also love that this takes you step by step through everything that you need to do, because a novice like myself who has never made sourdough before in her life, something like this is very helpful. I also purchased the bread lame. I added that on as an accessory, and this just tells me how to put that together and how to care for it. Speaking of the intentionality that I was talking about earlier with Ballerina Farms and Hannah, it's a little postcard with a cow on it. Things like this just make me smile. I love when a brand does an excellent job at packaging and puts a little extra detail and thought into the process. Something about that just sparks joy in me. This is my bread knife care guide. And then, of course, the actual sourdough starter, the Willa sourdough starter that comes from Ballerina Farms. It's wild to me that this tiny package is what my sourdough will come from, but it's really nice to have. I went ahead and added on some of the Ballerina Farms high protein organic farm flour. I'm really interested in the future in potentially trying to purchase a mill and doing my own flour. I just think there's so many benefits to that, but for now, this is where we're gonna start. I can only do so many things at once, guys. Another add-on that I had was the coarse gray French salt, and I've heard rave reviews about all the salts that come out of Ballerina Farms. They have a variety of different options, so I'm hopeful that I will enjoy this and add to my collection in the future. So that was a nice little addition, and I did love on the website the fact that I could easily see everything associated with the sourdough kit, and then they had an additional recommendation section that showed things like the bread lame, the sea salt, the protein flour. All of these things were great options for me to see because, like I said, I didn't know exactly everything that I would need, so having all of that available as a one-stop shop was just brilliant. Brilliant marketing in my mind. The thing I was probably the most excited about is I've recently become obsessed with these wet jars. They seem to be the gold standard in glass storage containers, and so I got a set of 2 so that I could put my sourdough starter in these wet jars. But they are just, I don't know, they're very aesthetically pleasing, and they seem to do an excellent job. I feel like I want to have the whole collection now. I want the little tulip wick jars for jams and jellies. I want the juice wick jars for any apple juice or orange juice, things like that. They're very universal. So I was very pleased to see that I could add these on whenever I was about to check out. All right, let's see here. I did get 2 of the Ballerina Farm bread baskets. These came with the kit, and I'll tell you guys everything at the end of this video that actually came with the kit and what I purchased separately. But these did come with the kit so that I'll have 2 baskets to put my bread in whenever they're done baking or when they're rising. We have the spatula to stir the bread. And I'm very excited about this branding. Look at the little geese. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just cute. I love a cute add-on, cute marketing. Whenever a brand does something and they do it well, I think they deserve credit for that because so much goes into creating something along these lines. So I do think they've done an excellent job as far as branding goes. And then I believe this comes with the kit as well to separate the dough out. So that was a nice little addition that came with the kit. And that may be everything. Oh, nope. Last but not least, one of the things that I did add on was the bread lame. This is really nice. It was not very expensive. And it does come with extra blades, which I thought was a great addition. Ooh, there they go. So I love that you can just open it up, tighten it down, and you can make a little design in the top of your bread. So that was really nice to have. And I like that everything matches now. So it's not a necessity, but I do enjoy it when that happens. So the sourdough kit includes the 2 bread baskets, the spatula for stirring, the divider, the Willa sourdough starter, and I do believe that's it. The add-ons that I purchased were the 5-pound bag of flour, the coarse gray French salt, the bread lame that I showed you, and the 2 wick jars that I added on. So not too bad. I was very pleased with the price point. I didn't think it was overly expensive. And I thought that there was a lot of value in the items that you're receiving. So I do feel very pleased with everything that I received. With that being said, I thought that it would be fun if you're a novice like myself and you're interested in getting into sourdough bread making, if we did this together, because this is the first time that I've ever made sourdough bread. I will say I was flipping through this sourdough book and it tells me to start in the morning, but my life is a little chaotic in the morning with getting ready for school and doing things along those lines. So we're just gonna start it together now and hope for the best. Move this stuff out of the way. I don't think I need any of that right now. I do know that I need the flour. This is where your scale is going to come in handy because the first instructions say, day 1, place 5 grams of the dried sourdough starter in one of the 1-quart glass jars, and then add 50 grams of water to the jar. So you're going to need a scale to know how much you've actually added in. I am going to go ahead, and the first thing I'm going to do obviously is wash these wick jars, and then we will come back and get started. Okay, both wick jars are washed and ready for use, but I'm only going to use one for right now. So let's put it on the scale and get started. All right, so I'm going to turn my scale on. This is the first time, full disclosure, that I'm actually using this scale, so bear with me. So I have the wick jar on there, and zero that out. Perfect, we're at 0. So then place 5 grams of dried sourdough starter in the 1-quart glass jar. So I'm just gonna use a teaspoon measuring unit till we get to, gosh, 5 grams. Okay, that's 2 grams. 3 grams, 4 grams, 5 grams, perfect. Isn't that neat that this came from their kitchen to me? It's going to hundreds of thousands of people, probably all across the United States. And I just think that's such a cool idea. This does, like I said, tell some of the history of how it was brought over and how it can live throughout all kinds of things. And I just feel like that's amazing. It's such an incredible heritage to have of, oh, this bread was started, you know, by my mom or my grandmother. I really do feel like that's such a beautiful component to it. I know that's a lot to say about bread, but I don't know, something about reverting back to the old ways of doing things and slowing down and simplifying some stuff, and simplifying not only that, just the ingredients. I feel like I've become so much more aware, especially since becoming a mom, of what's going in my body, but what's going in my children's bodies. What all of this processed food is doing to them, what all of these additives are doing to them. So now it's hard for me to go buy bread or anything from the market, because whenever I read the list of ingredients, it kind of boggles my mind. But that's a different tangent. So 5 grams sourdough starter in the 1 quart glass jar, and then 50 grams of warm water to the jar. Stir until the dry starter is completely submerged in the water. Let this mixture sit for a few minutes, allowing the starter to absorb the water. Then add 20 grams of flour and stir with a spatula until well combined. Combine loosely with a lid, slightly screwed on but not tight, and store at room temperature for 24 hours. Okay, so it does say they're going to use slightly more water than flour in the first 24 hours so that they can rehydrate the starter. But that's it for day 1. That's so much easier than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, let's go ahead and get to it. We'll add 50 grams of water to the jar, and then we'll add our flour. So I'm gonna zero that back out. I am using room temperature spring water, so let's add that in. Okay, 50 grams, perfect. All right, and then we're going to stir that. Let it sit for a few minutes. Okay, so then we let it sit so that the starter can absorb the water, and then 20 grams of flour. So I'm gonna use my tablespoon for that. And my high protein farm flour. Ooh, it's making a little bit of a mess. So zero that out. This scale is so easy to use, you guys. Like I said, it was very inexpensive. I ordered it off Amazon. It was delivered in a day, so I will link it below in the show notes because I highly recommend it. It's small, it's compact, easy to use. It has grams, milliliters, fluid ounces, pounds. I mean, it has all the measurement units that you would probably ever need. Highly recommend. Okay, so we're going to let that sit, like I said, for a few minutes, and then we're gonna come back and add the 20 grams of flour. That's perfect. So I should be able to wrap all of this up just in time for me to leave and go get my son from school, which is great because I definitely was a little nervous about the time crunch of doing this and starting this video right before going to get him. Also, I am 100% dressing for the weather that I want because it is so hot outside that this is an absolutely inappropriate outfit with the sweater draped over my shoulders because it is like 95 degrees still in Alabama. So they always say, what is it, dress for the job that you want? I'm dressing for the season that I want, and that is fall. I would like fall, please. Another thing I thought was really funny is I posted something earlier on my Instagram this week, and it said my favorite season is when all the mosquitoes die, and I firmly stand behind that because I am their favorite human. You might think you're their favorite human, but I would absolutely disagree with you. They flock to me. They love me. I am their favorite meal source. I cannot step foot outside without being swarmed by them. So I'm more than ready for it to be cold outside and all of them to die. That will be my first question when I get to heaven. God, can you explain to me why we needed mosquitoes? I get that everything was created for a reason, but I just need to know the reason behind the mosquitoes. So, hope you guys appreciated the Brooke brain and the random tangent that we just went on. I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as I did. All right, do you think it's been long enough? Probably, we'll try. All right, so 20 grams. Well, that was 7. 16. 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so now we're going to mix all of that together. Oh wow, that's so neat. It does look like, from what I've seen, that it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's the consistency I think that it is supposed to be. I will show it to you guys as soon as I finish mixing it all up. I want it to come off the spatula. There we go. Let me wipe my fingers off over here. Okay, I think we're good to go. So this is how it looks in the jar. Can you see this? Let me try to focus it. There we go. This is how it's looking in the jar for right now. So I'm going to cover this and I'm going to let it sit at room temperature for the next 24 hours. And we'll come back here tomorrow at 2 p.m. and we'll just see what we have to do. So it says tomorrow, the mixture will look smooth but not alive yet. Some of the water might have separated from the mixture. This is normal with both 1 quart jars in front of you, one with the starter mixture and the other clean and empty. Transport 10 grams of starter mixture into the clean jar. Discard the remaining mixture in the old jar. Add 25 grams of room temperature water and 25 grams of flour. Mix with a wooden spatula until well combined and cover loosely with a lid and store at room temperature for another 24 hours. Wow, okay. So we've done everything we need to do. And I hope you guys enjoyed this unboxing and review of all of these items. And I cannot wait to make my first loaf of sourdough bread. So maybe I will film that as well. If you have any questions or any comments or any tips, any recipes that I should try, let me know in the comments below. And I hope all of you have a wonderful week.